Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 53 of the On Air Advocate, where at the On Air Advocate, we look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I'm the host and producer of the On Air Advocate, and I am super excited whether you are joining us this evening or whether you're watching it later during the week on a replay. Now, as you know, over at the On Air Advocate, every single week we pick a focus. And this whole entire week, we have been focusing on the lack of youth and adult changing tables across the United States. And it's pretty astronomical when you look at the numbers of facilities and large establishments that do not have them. And so we've been kind of coming at this from all different perspectives, from the distributor perspective to different parents that have been dealing with this for many years with their kids, to ones with young ones that are just starting this journey. And so with that being said, I am very excited to have Ryan and Laura, two friends of mine. They are also caregivers, advocates, and entrepreneurs themselves that are joining us tonight to let me know how their journey has gone with their daughter, Julianna. And Julianna now, welcome you guys, and she is 13, right? So I just want to make sure.
10.
10?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oops.
Oops. Well, I made her older than she is, but
Well, she doesn't act like she's older, so
Yeah,
it's
she
good.
acts like she's 17, so.
So welcome you guys. Thanks for joining me on this Friday night. I know it's been a long work week, and to be here with us tonight, to just share your journey, the both of you. If you can kind of start with that, what condition Julianna has that, has made the situation what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for having us. We're excited to get a chance to speak out. Julianna was born with Spina Bifida, myelomeningocele, and she also has the Arnold Chiari malformation. So we knew before she was born that she was going to have some needs. And from day one, she underwent surgery to repair the myelomeningocele, her Spina Bifida opening, and ever since then there's always been something, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was like a hip surgery, she actually about a month old needed to have a trach and a G-tube placed after her
was a month?
Yeah, she was a month old. Yep.
Okay.
So she had a trach and a G-tube placed. She had part of that Arnold Chiari malformation had paralyzed her vocal cords, so she was aspirating every time we tried to feed her. So she was given a G-tube and a trach to help with the airway and things like that. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, she healed quickly. We were able to get the trach removed after about a year, but we learned a lot in that first year, just going through trach cares, taking care of an infant that needed to be we held a lot more equipment than just a diaper bag. I'll say that much.
Now, so that malformity that you have, can you explain that just a little bit more in detail for those that might be watching that don't know kind of the more, intricateness of the different conditions that she had?
Yeah, what the Arnold Chiari is basically a tethering of the spinal cord. So what it can do is essentially pull. So it can, what it was doing in her case, it was kind of pulling the spine back. So that's what had paralyzed the vocal cords. So what they had to do was a decompression surgery, they call it, in the back of her neck to release that tension of her spinal cord.
Okay. And then where did having the trach and that come in? Where did that come from?
She was hospitalized for about a month when she was a month old. So she spent.
But is that another condition? Like, was there a condition that led her to needing that?
No, I think she was just born with that. It's just we didn't know that there are people that actually have the Arnold Chiari malformation, but never ever show any signs of it. So that was something they actually discovered when we took her in for the aspirating when she was about a month old. So we didn't know she had that until she had the aspirating problems. So
okay. And so as she aged, she had multiple surgeries.
Correct.
And I know from even the time that I have known you guys, she has been hospitalized, quite a few times for lengthy.
As recently as 3 months even.
Yeah.
Her last hospitalization was pretty serious just 3 months ago. So
3 months ago. And so
3 or 4. Yeah, 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah. And so that journey with that, and she has always been wheelchair bound since forever, correct? Did she ever start where she was working on walking at all, or no?
Yeah, when she was really little, probably to about a year and a half. No, wait, was it 2?
Yeah, she was older than that. She had a walker, like at
She had a
therapy
gait
and
trainer.
stuff. She had a gait trainer.
Okay.
We didn't officially get a wheelchair until she was about 4 or 5. Otherwise, we had her in a stroller just because that was the easiest way to get her around. The
Right.
stroller, it would fold up quick. She was still small enough to fit in it. So, but she is completely wheelchair bound, so
No.
she can't walk at all.
Okay. And so there is a ton of that in her being 10 now. And about how much does she weigh?
About
91
92 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that transferring. And, this whole week, a lot of the parents have been talking about, even if places have like a bed or somewhere that you can change, because some of them have it like in their first aid rooms and things like that, just the fact that the transferring, how much parents get hurt from the transferring aspect, even if they're over 50 pounds, because you're not at the right height when you're trying to, get them on the bed and change them. Have you guys found that to be a significant challenge for you guys as well?
Of course, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's extremely challenging. Getting in and out of the car, even in and out of the wheelchair is tough. So, because we're not set up at home either, so she can't get in there by herself, and there's no way for her to transfer here. So we essentially have to get her in and out of her wheelchair each time she wants to either leave or be in it. So.
Okay. So, I mean, in a day, how many transfers do you think that you guys do?
It's not just with the wheelchair. If she wants to sit on the couch, if she wants to sit at the dinner table, that's all transfer. Getting her on the potty, probably well over 70 transfers a day.
Oh my gosh.
A lot.
Yeah. And that takes such a toll. And when did you guys kind of get to that point? I know, Laura, we've talked on our own privately just about how she used to be small enough that you guys would sometimes like change her in the back of the car or things like that. Like, what pivotal point did you guys say, like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy that, when you guys are trying to go out, and I don't even know what that looks like for the two of you anymore, being able to leave and go out to places and participate, in the movies or going to the mall or going to the zoo or going to those kind of places. So when did that pivotal point kind of change for you guys with her? At what age was that?
Boy, I don't specifically remember. Maybe Laura does. It all kind of blends together. I just know it got really difficult once she started getting bigger. And I'd say we stretched the limit on those baby changing tables in the restrooms, in the public restrooms. She was probably much heavier than she should have been, and we were still using those because we had to.
I would hold the underside of it while he did her cares, just because I didn't want it to fall off the wall, but we didn't have any other option. Like, either the restroom was so dirty, like we were like not even going to lay a mat down to put her on it, or she was at a weight as well. As it's hard to lift 90 or even 80 pounds straight off the floor.
Right.
When you have to bend over to pick them up, you can't really use your legs.
And when it's dead weight.
Yeah, exactly. And she can't help, although she would love to, but she can't. And that's where we're at. Those baby changing tables, that worked for a little while, although we didn't go out a lot early on either, just because of all her complex cares. There was so much stuff to bring along. So we're kind of still at that point. We don't do a lot. We're just trying to work around it and figure out some ways that we can finagle to get her bathrooming done, so we're not on a 3-hour schedule.
I remember there was a time when she was like 7 or 8 where some friends came into town from a different state to visit, and we wanted to go hang out with them. And we knew that it was going to be a time crunch to get that potty in, but I think like we pulled into like the back of a parking lot, like facing some woods or something, just to be able to do it in the back of the car, even though that wasn't convenient for us. And it was, I don't know.
Our Honda Pilot has served its purpose. It's become very useful. We love that truck, and we've had to use it to do some bathrooming things. And luckily, she was young enough. But now, we got to think long term. She's gonna be an adult soon, and
Well, even now at 10, even at 9, we didn't really, I mean, we skipped the whole car thing. I mean, it's like, that's not fair to her. I mean, she's old enough to know what's going on. And that's not right. She deserves to be in a bathroom. I mean, we don't go to the bathroom in the car. I mean, so.
Right. You know what I said this whole week is it's really just about human dignity. I mean, would you walk into a bathroom, any of us, and look and be like, oh, I would lay on the floor if I needed to? No. Nobody would make that choice for their elderly loved one, for their 7-year-old, their 10-year-old, their 14-year-old, plus the privacy, you know, and when the kiddos are cognitively, not that it makes it any better in any way, but, you know, like she's very aware. She's
very aware
and cognitively aware. It is because of her medical impairment that is changing this. So, you know, sometimes our kiddos, you know, may be so developmentally behind that they might not know, not that it makes it right in any way, but that, you know what I'm saying, there might be that level of embarrassment. But obviously her at the age of 10, she's very well aware that she's laying somewhere.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, and even when we walk out of a restroom, because sometimes there isn't a family restroom, the two of us just go into one because it takes two of us to do her bathroom. And I know people look at us like either she just came out of the men's or he just came out of the women's, but it's like, you know what, stare at me if you want. But at the same time, that goes to what you were just talking about. It doesn't matter if they understand or not. People are still staring at us.
Right.
And even though she understands, we shouldn't be embarrassed that people are looking at us because we just had to go into the restroom.
You know, I don't care that they stare. I'd love for them to ask, why are you there? Then I'd unload on them, right? I'd say, well, here's why. Write your senator, write your congressman. Here's why.
Right. Now, have you guys found any places here in Wisconsin or outside of Wisconsin that you visited that you felt had adequate accommodations?
I think when we go to a stadium, like we were at the Bradley Center once, or were we at the Bradley Center? We were at Miller Park. I'll say that. We were at Miller Park for a baseball game once. We just used the first aid room. They've got empty cots sitting there. There's people sitting down there doing nothing. They were more than happy to have us do her bathrooming there on one of the cots. So,
but again, that comes back to like us basically doing her bathroom on a bed and in a room with a curtain where other people can hear, you know, that she's in the restroom, which is a private thing. But also we had to transfer her. So again, that's, you know,
and you got to go down to the the first aid room. So you're not where everybody else gets to go to the bathroom. So, you know, places like that we can make work, but anywhere else, you really got to think ahead. You got to know what you're doing. And
I'm sure we'll get to this, but honestly, we live our life in like 2.5 hour increments because she needs to go every 3 hours, if not sooner. So, we have to basically plot out everything that we do.
And it's not okay. I mean, and that's the bottom line. This isn't a hard fix. You know, this isn't like every business establishment has to do like a $5 million renovation to make this work. I mean, like we talked about, this is a $2,000 to $7,000 fix. You know, possibly if you have an older structure or an older building, when you're doing modifications, you know, to it would be the time, because you do have to meet all of those, you know, regulations within the bathroom and for sizing and all of that. But like we chatted about, one of the ladies who were on this week is, you know, when the Panther Arena was being redone at $6 million of renovations. Well, that's the time at $6 million in renovations to say, hey, we're going to step up and have dignity for all and be able, you know, to accommodate everybody in our community, you know, for an extra $5,000, you know, onto the tab for it. But what I found interesting too, and I don't know if anyone has ever chatted with you guys about it, but that there isn't really like an open search where any of these businesses that might have them put them anywhere down. Like you don't even know they have them, if they have them. Honestly,
I didn't even know they had such a thing until I talked to you. I didn't know they made an adult table. Yeah. So, that's something, honestly, that would change our life entirely, because we don't have to live our life then in 2.5 hour increments. Honestly, like Ryan said, when we first got on, we really don't do much because we can only go so far before we need to be near home. So, and that's not fair to us and that's not fair to her. I mean, we should be able to live as a family, and do things as a family, whether it's in town, in state. We'd like to travel. We just went out of state for a family wedding, but that's the first time we've gone anywhere,
that distance.
That distance in like 5 years.
Mm-hmm. And I just think for everyone that is listening, it's the awareness part of it. Like, are you aware that there are people out there that, you know what I'm saying, cannot even have the opportunity to go to a basketball game or to a zoo or to a mall to walk around? And, then we talk about there's such a craze about mental health. You have all these caregivers that are at home and they don't have the opportunity to leave. Then how does that lead to alienation? You know what I'm saying? And depression and all of those other things because they can't go out. And so we're looking at facilities that, are over $1 million or so. I think that it should be mandated by law that at least one, there needs to be at least one family area, changing area that would give those accommodations and not being that first aid room because that's how people get hurt. I mean, it's an all right thing, but really the transfer and going up is how someone is going to end up getting injured. I mean,
that's just it. I mean, she just turned 10, but she's already 91 pounds. I mean, she's going to turn 18. And then how much is she going to weigh? Like, we're already at a point where we can barely lift her. And I work out frequently.
Right.
It's not like we're not capable or able to, but it's really more of a personal health thing. Cause now if we both get hurt, now what?
Right. Then how is she going to, we've talked about also the caregiver crisis of having people come into the home and be able, and that's a whole different topic. Episode. But when you think about all of those layers, I know one of the moms this week was talking about how when she went and she was campaigning, they were acting like it was only her that was asking for the table. And she said, you don't realize how many parents don't have anywhere to go. They live their life at that 2 hours or 3 hours at a time. And they just don't patronize your business at all because they know, you know what I'm saying, that there isn't going to be the accommodations that they need there. So it's not that there's not more people who want those services. It's that you just don't know about them because they're not even coming anymore. They're not even trying, And then and the whole packing up thing. How do you guys find that? I've one woman that we talked to this week, she said that, her story kind of came out and somebody asked like, well, are you prepared? And I thought to myself, me and her both chuckled because we're like, I mean, aren't you guys really prepared anywhere you go as having a child with medical conditions? You're prepared, right?
We have to think about stuff that a normal person wouldn't ever want to think about, let alone have to. It's crazy how many steps ahead we have to think just for that trip that Laura was talking about that we just took as a family. I had to think, well, what if the car breaks down? What if we're stuck where we're at for another couple days? Do I have enough supplies? What are we going to do? You got to think days ahead if you're going on a trip like that. And then when you're out, you got to think hours ahead. What if the car breaks down? We can't get home. Now I need extra supplies. I need to know, where are we going to do the bathrooming? What are we going to do? What if something happens? You can't run out of supplies.
Right. And I know sometimes when you guys used to do the back of the car, did you guys ever get to that point where you used to bring like blankets or towels or any of that stuff into restrooms to change? I know some of the moms are talking about that, that's like their only alternative sometimes, but it's still disgusting.
Well, we've luckily always had like some kind of like huge mat or something.
Like a chuck.
Like a chuck, but it's like chuck. A large, we've always kind of tried to keep a handful of those around so we can lay that down.
But unfortunately, she's still always been on the hard floor.
It's hard.
Bless her heart, she's never complained. But, you do it as quick as you can. You're in a facility that probably someone's knocking on the door they want to use it too, right? Because it's the one disabled stall in the one bathroom. And
they got 5 kids and they need to get in the family room.
Or there's kids peeking under the stall gap and they're wondering what's going on and why some kiddos laying on the floor. We've always just adapted, and it's tough. It's tough.
It would be easier if they adapted to us rather than us trying to adapt to the facility.
Right. Well, and I mean, I think that there are so many people out there for that push forward and that movement. And that's why we have focused on this for the whole entire week. And we're going to continue to also next week some more, because I think it's the awareness. Because I think if you told all of your friends, I only live my life 2.5 hours at a time, our kid has to lay on the floor. You know, like a lot of times people just don't recognize, because as parents, we just do the act. We're just taking care of it. And it's not like we're publicly putting it on our Facebook page or publicly putting out there the struggle. You know,
this is the most public we've ever been. I'll just say that. We probably, so for everybody that's watching this, yes, we live our life in 2-hour increments.
And this
is the first we're talking about it.
And there's families out there who have their own story, who are just as important, but we have family members who don't understand what we go through. They can't comprehend it. They don't get the 2 or 3 hour block schedule that we have to stay on.
Because sometimes they'll even say, well, yeah, we'll do the potty now. So, and it's like, no, you don't understand. We can't just do it right now, because that means the clock starts right now. That means we need to be ready to leave right now. Like, you know, so.
Right.
We've just kind of given up on having people understand, but hey, more power to you. If you figured out a way to get it done, and now we're fighting for tables, I'm behind it.
We're willing to help.
I'm behind it.
There is some powerful moms and dads that are out there with this. It's changing spaces. I don't want to get it wrong, because I guess it originated from changing places, which is in the UK, which in the UK, they already have like accommodations in more than like half of their places. They have Hoyer lifts if people need them. I mean, it's pretty advanced. And also,
awesome.
I have to think, somebody will drop it below. There's another area that's very forward moving on this. And the US is like, we're trying to catch up. And so they formulated then changing spaces. Wisconsin, that's the one that's here in Wisconsin. But then there's like changing spaces, Georgia, you know, they're Florida, that way. And it's a campaign. It's not a foundation. It's a campaign to get the movement of this going and to build that awareness. Because I think that if you don't present it to somebody, or they've never been with you during an experience of having to change her, you know, and how crazy it is. Mm-hmm. I feel like everyone who has anything to say, I mean, even think of your elderly loved one. So if it's not your child, at some point, you may be taking care of your elderly loved one. Think of your, 85-year-old parent being incontinent and you trying to change them on a floor. I mean, I just feel like if people really thought the process through, they would realize the level of kind of idiocracy this is that we're even talking about it. When those changing tables, you can also change a baby on. So if a facility couldn't afford to put in a baby one, they could just put in the adult one that still has a strap on it. You can lay a baby down on it and an adult for doing it. And as we spoke about, I don't think that anyone that's campaigning is looking for the little ma and pa shops to do this. That's, it's not where it's going to get accommodated, but all of these big places that let you guys as parents get out of the house and actually participate, you know what I'm saying, within your community, within our world, like everyone should have the right to. So I think you guys need to start screaming is what I think you guys need to do. You guys need to start barking, screaming, letting everybody know, like, this ain't right. It's not.
Watch out, world.
This is your first opening time of talking, and you just wait. Now it's started. You guys are going to go full-fledged now to do this, to go forward. Now, do you guys have any other friends of like Julianna's and whatnot through school that have any of these same experiences you, or any support groups that you guys belong to?
No, none that have the same struggle that we live on a daily basis, I guess you could say.
Tammy.
Yeah, you're the only one.
And I always tell people, I feel extremely blessed. My son was toilet trained by 10, but the experiences that I had, and him at 10, I got a big boy. Even at 10, he was pushing about 135, 140, and about 5'7", in height, and it was something. The whole thing of I'm going to a women's bathroom, and then everyone looks at you, like here I'm taking him. And then the time that we were at the water park, this happened twice, that then out of the pull-up and then the mess, and then I'm cleaning him up in the water park, on the floor, in the locker room, and it's just, I think that people don't understand the magnitude that even if you're prepared, you have all your stuff packed in your bag, you're ready to go. It's a hot mess.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's hard. You can have two of you, and it's hard to clean up. I was speaking with some people the other day. My grandmother passed away a few months back, and she was in the nursing facility. We were all there, and she had a moment of incontinence due to some medications and whatnot. There were 5 of us in there, and I always like to relate back to this. She was already laying down in a hospital, on a bed. There was 5 of us it took to change and clean everything up. 5. So we talk about parents. You're going out with your child, and you don't even have, you have no help, you have no anything else, and you have a floor. And so I just don't think a table that's $2,000 or $7,000 is too much to ask in some of these huge places, and having just one of them,
Right. One would suffice.
One would suffice. I did find out here, though, in Wisconsin, the zoo, I know this morning some of our other moms here didn't know that. I guess the zoo doesn't have a movable one, but they do have an area at the zoo. So, though I heard our children's hospital doesn't have one. So this is where it has to.
Yeah, that would be the one place that we frequent that should have one.
Right. And so, you have went there before too. Have you asked? I was going to double check back on that for our children's hospital here in Wisconsin. Have you asked when you've been there before?
Well, no, because like I said, I didn't even know such a thing existed. So now we'll be asking everywhere we go.
Tammy, I can barely get Children's Hospital to help with the bathrooming when we're there. Let alone get a table. He's already in a bed, too.
Show. That's another show. I know. It is the stressful world of all this, but I'm excited that now that those are available. I knew that they were available, but I didn't understand the push that was going on and how forward other places are than the United States until I was actually in the hospital when I saw Christina, who is from Pittsburgh. She was on the news. She had got national news for her son that is on the spectrum and is autistic, and having to always lay him on a bathroom, floor or towel or whatever. And I reached out and I'm like, this is really not getting handled. It's really not getting handled and not getting handled here. But the hope would be is that people start to see, like our Panther Arena here, the Bucks new arena saw what they were doing, and they now have a room, and I guess they're going to have 2 sensory rooms in there too. So that's
nice.
Really awesome. So, but it's all of us parents letting everybody know, I think, is the main.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things happens in numbers. We can make a big difference if a lot of us know about it. And now that we know about it, we can speak about it. So
right.
I think really just what it takes is, like you had said, there's other parents that didn't realize that there's other parents that go through the same exact thing. So, and like you asked us, there's nobody in our immediate circle that we socialize with that goes through the same thing. So, we didn't ever talk to anybody about it because they don't experience what we experience. So,
right. And
I guess we're not naive enough to know that there's other families that go through things possibly even worse than us or likely worse than us. But it's definitely nice to know that there is something we can do about this.
Right. But I think that this is very eye-opening, though, for us, because we didn't talk a ton about this before the interview. You don't get in depth as to how much you knew or how much you didn't. But this just shows that disconnect when us as caregivers get kind of separated. You know what I'm saying? And alienated from some of that other population. And the goal is to get us all to be on the same page, supporting one another, and us hearing all the journeys from each other to know what's going on. And, an example this morning, one of the ladies put a feed. Oh, yes, there is one at the zoo here. And then another woman came on and like, really? Because I was at the zoo and just had to change my child on the floor. And so it's all of us. Unfortunately, there's nobody waving a sign saying, we're here to save the day, and we're here and we're going to help this. But we have to continue to use our voices and throw things out there as we learn about them so that, all of us can work, together, and realizing that there are tons of parents that are in the same crisis, but just don't know exactly what that next step might be as to how they can help change the process.
So is what people are asking is, do you have an adult changing facility or an adult changing room? Is that what?
Yeah, an adult changing table.
Okay, adult changing
Yeah,
table.
a youth or an adult changing table. And
Okay.
I know that we have Maxability on, and so I'm going to put up some of those pictures of their types of tables and stuff as well. But as we talked about, that was yesterday they were on, is the importance of it being also electronic. And so some establishments may want to take the cheaper route and do something. But if you think about it in a business establishment, the cheaper ones hook in and hook out. And you can think of that because I know you guys have a business yourself. If you took something and you hooked it in and you didn't hook it in right and you put the person down and they fell, you know, all the liability and stuff that would be on there. In addition, how can you, if you can't adjust the height until you have the person on, that's what we talked about as well. It would be very difficult for you to like get the person, know where the height has to be to do the transfer. To get on when it's like that. So if it's one that's in a set area, or, you know, some parents actually have them in their homes if they need them, or let's say in more of a nursing home type of a setting, that way they might be able to range it if they're using it. But when it's in a public place where everybody is going to be different, you know, it might be your daughter who's 10, it might be somebody who's, you know, 7, it might be somebody who's 80. You know, it would be hard to arrange that without it being electronic. So,
Well, that also becomes, if it's not movable, that becomes a 2-person job then, because
right.
for somebody who's younger, they might, you know, if trying to adjust that, there's one jerked moment that kiddo could fall off. You know, you can't hold the table, hold the kiddo. You know, there's just a lot of factors that people don't think about too that go along with one person trying to do the care. So,
Right.
all the tools need to be easy to use, and really simple, honestly.
Right. And accessible where it's not, I know some people have told me in other states there might be one, but it's like down the hallway, then you go in the elevator, then you go down 7 floors, then you go over 5 rooms, and you go to the, you know, and especially if you're taking somebody who has lots of needs and equipment with them, you know,
Right.
sometimes getting to the one room they might have available, you know, that would be the next layer of it in a perfect world, is not only do you have the accommodations, but you have it in a nice kind of centrally located area, not where you're
the rest of the rooms, restroom.
right. Like you're not going over the river and through the woods, you
Right.
know. For that. Now, is Julianna, is she vocal at all about this, knowing that she, you know, is developmentally and cognitively aware of the things that are going on? Is she vocal at all about her feelings, like that of not getting to go some of the places, or not staying as long, or not doing things?
No, unfortunately, I think she sees the struggle that it takes for us just to get out, and I think she keeps pretty quiet about it. It would be interesting. You know, it wouldn't be able to be us, but for someone to pick her brain and see what she thinks about that, because I'm sure she does have some thoughts and some feelings on it, but she knows it's a struggle just to go to the bathroom when we're out. She's never complained. She's not like that. She's the happiest kid in the world. And she's also never really made a big deal about not being able to maybe do something just because of the bathroom facilities. But it's just the type of kid she is. So,
but it's always just been the way that it has been. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like she doesn't know anything else. Like if she knows that we need to leave because we need to go home, she knows we need to go home to go potty. So,
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't question it or throw a fit. She's not that type of kid. She just doesn't know any different. But we would like her to know something different.
Right.
Right.
And
Essentially, her rights have been kind of squashed based on, you know, what's available for us as caregivers and parents to help take care of her while we're out and about. So if it's not there, then she doesn't get to complete what she wants to do, or experience things that she should be able to experience.
Right. And that's about enough to make me cry right now, right here on the air. Because in this world and day and age that we live in, we just have our priorities so not straight. You know, I mean, for something that is as simplistic as this, as low cost as this, for huge conglomerations to be able to go to a Great America or to a zoo or to a normal mall, just like we all do, shouldn't be like this. And these kids, you know, and adults that have these things should not be deprived of that right just because they have to go to the bathroom and do a normal function that everybody should be able to do, right?
Yeah. Well, and the other part of that too is it really limits who can go with her.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because without those tools and like the changing table and it being adjustable, if there was a place to do that, well, now it's not necessarily dad or I that have to be with her to do that, because now maybe grandma or grandpa could go or help, because if she could transfer herself to that table or, you know, now we don't have to be alone. We can get a little bit of a break too, because we'd sure like some date nights and we'd sure like some husband and wife time, you know. But for right now, she cannot be lifted by
anyone.
She's too heavy. The last thing we need is them getting hurt just so we can have a break. You know, it's just not fair. So.
And I mean, I think that's a whole nother layer to this, that, you know, just trying to get people to understand the fact of the, you know, you should have human dignity, that none of us want to lay on a bathroom floor. I mean, that's like the first step of acknowledgement. Like, no one would put, you know, they wouldn't lay their dog on a bathroom floor, you know, their animals, their pets, you know, much less our kids and our loved ones, you know. And then the fact of the energy that even if there is a table, the transfer to the table, the getting on the table, but then it's, do I have any caregivers in my circle that I trust and that have the functional tools, the capabilities to be able to care for my child, so that it's not always the, you know what I'm saying, the two of us, so that we can, you know, do this in those adaptions at those places to help the other people be able to do it. And it's not just the two people who do it all the time, because you become experts.
When she's getting to that age, she might not want to hang out with us.
Right? And she is so mature. And I don't know, like, I knew she was 10, but no, she is so mature.
She is.
Because I feel like
they've given her the adult menu at restaurants for literally at least 4 or 5 years now. They don't even offer the kids menu. So
I know, because I remember that like 3 years ago. I mean, I feel like 3 years ago she was 10. I know. That's, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that is part of her condition is that she looks older and is more mature, but she fits it too. Socially and cognitively and mentally, she fits it very well.
Right. So we want her to be able to be doing those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting out. I mean, she should be going to see Phantom of the Opera. She should be able to.
No, she would love
we want her to be able to hang out with her friends and not have to worry that mom or dad have to come and help her go potty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you guys really should just check out the list of the new ones that we kind of put up today that are here in our area to try them. And I know that they're not all perfect. I know the one that's done down at the Summerfest grounds, it was a donation, I believe, from like the Spinal Cord Injury Foundation or Association. But it's like in the first aid though area. So it does not have a movable bed, but it's a start. It's a start that it's been there for years, so that people can go down to the fairgrounds, so that they have a place, a reprieve to go that's air conditioned. So, you know, baby steps, I think, but I think that everywhere everyone goes, they should be asking. And I think that if anyone is watching this, this broadcast, I just really want you to think, you know, at some point in time, you're either, you either become a caregiver, it gets thrusted upon you, for your elderly loved ones, or someone's caring for you when you become elderly. However it may lay out, walking into bathrooms and looking and thinking about the other people who have to use these facilities and use these places, and are they accommodating to them? I even find myself like, I'll walk in the library or I'll walk in places and I'm like, how does anyone get in here? Because I feel like I'm walking and I have a hard time getting in here. And I think if someone's in a wheelchair, if someone's, having issues or on crutches or a walker, like how does it even happen? And so I think that a call to action is all for all of us that do have that function ability to be able to look around and ask those questions, because everybody should have that same right and opportunity, I feel. I think so, guys, right?
Yeah. Well, and you brought up a good point with, like Summerfest. It's the same thing with State Fair. By the time we get down there and find a spot to park and get into the actual park, I mean, we're down to like an hour and a half now. Like so it's like we're there for like an hour and then we have to leave. So it's like, was it worth the money, or can we get to everything we wanted to see or do? So it's like, that's a perfect example of stuff that she might like to do or go check out, even though it's crowded. It's like by the time we get there, park.
Right.
Likely don't have a facility. Maybe they do now because Summerfest is a larger, event, but, the State Fair, but
Right.
I mean, that's just another perfect example of that stuff that we have just been limited by. Because when she was younger, because we could easily do it in the baby changing area, but still that was behind a curtain, but she was little enough. But now she's older, and like you said before, I mean, that's that human dignity part. She shouldn't need to lay on the floor just to go experience, cream puff.
Right. Everyone should have the right to experience a cream puff. If you're in Wisconsin, you should, and the festivals and the fairs. And yes, State Fair, that I was told. Now, I could be wrong, but I was told that they still do not have any of those facilities at State Fair. And State Fair has done a lot of renovations too. And so that's my call to action now everywhere that I go. And what I'm doing is, where is one in your facility? Because if it's a large enough facility, and like the movie theater, no movie theaters have them. It's like, don't kids and adults, shouldn't everyone have the right to go to see a movie?
Right. And most movies are between an hour and a half and 2 hours now. So with you put drive time in there, you're right at potty time.
And the newer theaters have disabled seating for a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. So if you've got the disabled seating already and you're set up for the caregivers to sit next to them, the next logical step would be to have the bathroom and the facilities available.
Right. Too. And you think of all the movie theaters now that have done all those renovations. That's where I'm kind of like thinking in my head, as we've watched all of these theaters, at least in our area, have done tons of renovations, the new seating.
Yeah, ours did too.
It's really nice.
Yeah. So if anyone is from a movie theater that's watching this show, I want you to drop it below if we know any movie theaters that have the accommodations in them across the U.S. I would like to know, about it. Just another one of those things that everybody should have the opportunity to do. So you guys, I don't even know how long it's been. Oh, I feel like we've talked like an hour.
I don't even know.
I don't think so.
No, not quite. I don't think. It's been good though. We got a lot of info out.
Yes, we did. But I know I told you guys, I'm like, oh, it's Friday night. I'm going to let you guys enjoy.
Are you kidding? We probably have to go potty.
It is almost that time. And you guys are a little frozen on the screen right now, but that's okay because I can still hear you.
Okay, I was going to say, you're frozen on our side too. So.
Oh, well, that's great. I'm not really sure if we'll see each other moving when it's all edited and done. But nevertheless, I thank you both very much for being here with me tonight. I thank you for this very open, honest, and transparent conversation that we've had. And I think it's wonderful, especially for other parents that are listening that may not, also have all the answers, or they may not know that there are the different things available. And now we lost connection. So on that note, I want to thank everybody for watching this night, the On Air Advocate. And if you would like any of other social media applications, like our YouTube videos, our other podcasts, or any of our other broadcasts, you can head right on over to onairadvocate.com. Also, don't forget that we just recently launched our private community, which you can be in, where we interact on a daily basis with our trials, our tribulations, questions, learning, knowledge, education, all of that. So make sure if you go to our Facebook page that you hit the visit group tab and you request to be a part of that. So on that note, all of you guys have a fabulous Friday, and thank you so much again for tuning in to the On Air Advocate.